I was raised in a devout Catholic family. I could really say the thing that mattered most to my parents was family and being Catholic. My parents' duty was to raise strong Catholic children. I had many memories of sitting on my dad's lap at a young age, learning Catholic catechism. Our family, we prayed the rosary together daily. We honored all the feast days, went to church, and of course, never ate meat on Fridays. Growing up Catholic, I was taught about God the Father, but not Jesus. The only thing I knew about Jesus was that he was crucified on a cross, and by doing so, he opened up the gates of heaven so that I have a chance to be saved. I was pretty good at being Catholic. I followed the rules, and I did what I was supposed to. My motivation was by fear. If I wasn't a good Catholic, I was going to hell. I never questioned my faith. I was taught, why would you question the truth? My turning point really came in the 8th grade. I was awarded the prestigious award of most courteous student. But really did I realize how quickly that would change. It all started when I made a final summer trip with my dad back to Montana. My cousins in Montana live literally out in the middle of the country, and they had a trailer there with a big satellite dish. And one day, I was flipping through all the channels. And mind you, I'm in 8th grade, my hormones are raging. And as I'm flipping through the channels, I find the porn channel. And I got sucked into the porn channel. And I got sucked in nearly until I got caught. Well, fast forward, just recently, I was praying and breaking off old bondage. And in doing so, the Holy Spirit highlighted to me a memory that literally I'd blacked out for 31 years. You see, I found a treasure trove of pornography magazines in that trailer. But before I found it, I was praying to Satan, not God, to help me find magazines. And I really remember, and I had forgotten this, that I was pleading, please, Satan, please let me find some magazines. So little did I realize, doing this, it opened up a portal at a young age that I'd always regret. Freshman year in high school was horrendous. I went from being most courteous student to a living hellion. I fought with all my teachers. My personal mantra became, I was a rebel without a cause. And I lived by that. My teachers thought I was on drugs. My parents, they're like, what happened? This is my boy who's gonna be a priest, and now he's a living hellion. So it came to the point where I finally got in a confrontation with my mom, and I hit her. And that was the last straw. So the next thing you know, I'm on a plane to a Catholic boarding school in the middle of Kansas. Well, I graduated somehow. And after graduating high school, I moved back to Sacramento. I attended American River College where I met some new friends. And these friends, they were more interested in drinking beer and smoking a little pot. So what did I do? I started drinking beer and smoking pot. Well, right around that time, this band came through town called the Grateful Dead. And I went to their concert, and I was hooked. I was consumed by the Deadhead culture and music. And the more I was consumed with their music, the more drugs that I took. Soon, I started taking LSD and acid, which is the same thing, and mushrooms to expand my limits of reality. But looking back, the truth of it was I was looking for God, and only God could satisfy that reality. So the next thing, my friend up in Portland, Oregon, talked me into moving to Portland, Oregon. And when I did, I met this girl, she was a hippie girl, who was into spirit guides and New Age philosophy. And really, let's not beat around the bush here and not put spin on it, but New Age philosophy is demonic. It really is. And you'll see why pretty soon here. Applying anything that puts empowerment on man and has you praying and relying on other spirits and other forces is from Satan. Soon, I was drawing tarot cards and relying on my spirit guides for direction, not God. Oftentimes, tarot cards would leap off the deck and tell me insight. I remember one time I had my eyes closed and I was praying to my spirit guides, please let me draw the right card. And as I had my eyes closed, I heard this loud voice behind me, Mark! I jumped up, turned around, nobody was standing behind me. The more I delved into New Age, the more I felt empowered. And the more empowered I was, the more I wanted. So I started practicing various forms of Hindu meditation, yoga. I started even consulting with psychics. I started hanging out with New Age practitioners who were into spirit guide healings and actually channeling other spirits. I personally believe my demonic attachments came at the worst when I consulted with a man whose name was Nathaniel. You see, he laid hands on me and he told me to pray to this spirit Nathaniel every day and look in the mirror when I did it. And when I would do it, I would actually see flashes of light behind me. Around this time, I started to get physically attacked by spirits at night. I wake up in the middle of the night choking and coughing, just feeling evil in my room. Ultimately, I threw away all my tokens, all my tarot cards, my New Age books. I was done. I was finished. But I didn't know that that was the way to do it. I mean, it was going to follow you wherever you went. So I moved back to Sacramento to start my own business. I tried to convince my wife, at the time my girlfriend Corey, to move down with me. But she's like, Mark, I need a bigger commitment. Soon we were engaged. Something to note here that Corey, my wife, was a Christian believer. She came from a strong Christian family. Soon after we were married, my nightly demonic attacks started again. They weren't every night, but they seemed to be happening more often than not. The dreams were of absolute darkness, pure light. It was almost as if I was trapped in a box and I was overwhelmed by fear. The only thing that I could do to get out of these dreams was proclaim the name of Jesus. And I wasn't even a Christian at the time, but I remember being so desperate, I shouted the word Jesus, and as soon as I did that, the dreams would end. The first 4 years of our marriage were awful. They were rough. Matter of fact, probably a lot of my friends and family thought we were going to be divorced. I always fought with my wife about everything, including religion. I would constantly attack her Christian beliefs, even though I wasn't even a practicing Catholic. I would tell her, hey, the Catholic faith is the true faith. And she would fire back, no, it's not. Read the Bible. Many nights she'd be reading the Bible and I'd walk by and I'd grab it and I'd pretend like it's burning my hands. I truly believe that demonic attachments were attacking her, our faith, and our marriage. She was the rock that wouldn't move. She prayed and persevered. Matter of fact, the more I think about it, a testimony really within this testimony is if you have a loved one that's gone wayward, I would say stand strong, persevere, and absolutely pray. So reluctantly, I started attending church with my wife, and really, I did it as a way to appease her and then get a little nap time. Little did I know, my soul was softening, and God was actually reaching out for me. So in 2013, we moved to Roseville, and at this point, I was in severe physical pain. I had 2 bulging discs in my lower back, and I was really in a lot of emotional pain. So I was scheduled for a double MRI. Well, I had no clue that I was afraid of tight spaces. And to make matters worse, I got into this MRI machine and they forgot to, I don't know if you ever had one, but they put on these headphones so you don't hear anything. Well, they forgot to turn on the music. So I listened for 45 minutes to this loud roar. And as I was about to have a panic attack, I say, I got to pray to God. So I prayed literally to God for 45 minutes nonstop. And when I got out of the machine, I was like, wow, something seems different. The whole world seemed a lot brighter. And I remember on the way home, I got a phone call from my father-in-law who had been praying for me. And I talked to him like I'd never talked before. And usually I'm kind of the guy that, all right, I got to go, and I hang up. On that day, he hung up on me. I love you, Dick, and I know you're watching this. About a month later, yes, I'm sorry, I lost my place. About a month later, my wife asked me to go to a church about 3 blocks from our house. This church was called The Rock. So I was up for it. It was close. We walked in, and Tracy was singing, and she was killing it that day. And I felt the Holy Spirit like never before. But I didn't even know it was the Holy Spirit. I just felt the presence of something. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I look over, and this guy next to me, probably 3 seats away, has this crazy long hair, tattoo sleeves on both arms, and he's fully worshiping God. And I'm like, this guy's a Christian? Like in my Catholic mind, I was like, you don't act like that, right? But I soon right there had a revelation. You know what? It's what comes from the inside and the heart, not what's on the outside. Thank you. Soon that wore off. I had that Holy Spirit buzz, and it wore off, and I was back to my depressed state. And the demonic attacks were still continuing. One day, my wife walked in, and she gave me some headphones, and she said, Mark, I want you to listen to this song. I was like, okay. It was Blessings by Laura Story. And the words of that song, they went straight to my heart. The words are, what if our healings come through tears? What if 1,000 sleepless nights, which is what I had, are what it takes to feel you near? I'd never heard a song like that before. It sliced me, it tore me apart. I started sobbing uncontrollably. And the interesting thing was, that week on the radio, at least 7 or 8 times, I heard that song. I think God knew exactly what he was doing. So I started attending The Rock, where my need for God just felt stronger and stronger. Soon, I met my great friend, Anthony Sano, and his wife, Anu, and they became mentors for me. We started attending their Bible study out in Lincoln. So if you guys are looking for a good Bible study group, talk to them. So I started attending their group where my faith grew stronger and stronger. So one night, I'm at home, I'm on the couch, and we're discussing salvation. Corey and I are. And Corey said, you know, Mark, all you have to do is say a little prayer and give your life to God. And I said, no way. It can't be that easy. You see, my mind was still stuck on the Catholic mindset that you had to do something more. She said, Mark, you know what? It's in the Bible. Read it. It's the truth. So at that point, right then and there, I gave my life to Christ. Thank you. A year later, I was baptized by Pastor Francis. But once I gave my life to Christ, it didn't get any easier. Matter of fact, in my personal situation, the attacks of Satan were full throttle. Every time I would pray, I would get bombarded with pornographic images. And my body literally would start to twitch, as if some type of a demonic attachment was still on me from the past. So I finally confided in my wife. This lasted for about a month. And my wife said, Mark, you got to call somebody of faith. But I was nervous. Here, I'm a proclaimed Christian. And how could I have a personal attachment, a demonic attachment on me as a Christian? So I couldn't call anybody. So I sat there and I prayed and I prayed. And I finally got the courage to call my friend Anthony. And he said, you know what, Mark? No problem. He showed up next Sunday with his good friend Tigran, and they laid hands on me. And they prayed for hours. And as they prayed and they anointed me with oil, my body shook. And at the very end of it all, as the spirits were finally released from my body, I coughed like 3 or 4 times, fell back into the couch, and felt the peace of God like I've never felt before. It literally felt, I can't explain it, but if you've ever had the best massage in your life, multiply that by like 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000. And that's what I felt like. So I fell back into the couch. At last, I was free.